Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to another Burlingame. It's a small town podcast sponsored by the Burlingame Historical Society. This is Mark Lucchese, also known as Mark at the Mic, and I've got something different going on for my next 4 podcasts. I will be interviewing the 4 candidates running for Burlingame City Council representing District 2. These candidates are, in alphabetical order, Nirmala Bandrapalli, Hadia Corey, Rachel Nee, and Desiree Thayer. So let's meet today my guest, Desiree Thayer. Desiree Thayer, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
You bet. Why don't you take a few minutes and just tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
My name is Desiree Thayer. I grew up in Michigan. After finishing college at the University of Michigan, I moved to California, and I've now lived in the Bay Area for 18 years. I've lived in Burlingame for 9 years.
9 years in Burlingame. Great. What do you do for work?
I'm trained as a scientist and an educator. So I have a PhD in biochemistry, and I work in the biopharma area, discovering new medicines.
And are you doing that, what's the word they use now, locally, at home, remotely, right? Or do you go to work every day, or how's that work?
Yeah, I actually work for a company that's headquartered in Palo Alto, but we're a remote-first company, so we're spread all around the world.
Yeah. But primarily you're staying home and working from home. Good for you.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so I got a few things here we're going to talk about. First of all, why are you running for City Council?
I'm really running for City Council because, first of all, I'm prepared and I'm interested. So I've been attending City Council meetings regularly for 2 years now, really interested in the impact that local government has on everyone. And I also feel like we need some more diversity on the council. So more than 50% of Burlingame are renters, and more than a quarter of us are Asian Americans. And as a renter myself and a Filipino American, I think I could bring a fresh perspective to City Council.
Okay, great. What do the citizens of Burlingame achieve by voting for you that they may not get by voting for someone else?
They get someone who's very committed and who will work very hard and is very aware of what's happening in the city and in the county. So as I mentioned, I've been attending meetings very regularly, the Burlingame City Council meetings. I've also been involved at the county level with Peninsula Clean Energy, with a local nonprofit, the Citizens Environmental Council of Burlingame. And all these things, I've really seen what the county's working on, what the city's working on, and I'm ready to be effective from day one.
Okay. That kind of answered my next question, which would have been, what has been your experience with city government? For example, what commissions or committees have you served on? So sounds like you're kind of getting things rolling here. You've got things going on. So good. All right. To you, what is the most pressing issue in Burlingame, and what is your plan to deal with it?
I think the most pressing issue is housing. It's a regional issue that we're all facing. And I think we're very fortunate that Burlingame is doing a good job in building more housing and more affordable housing. But a lot of that housing is coming to District 2. We have a brand new neighborhood that's coming up in the North Rollins area. We have many apartments and condos coming up on the North El Camino area, close to the hospital. And those are new residents that we really need to integrate into our city and make sure that we have services available to them and they feel a part of our community.
Okay, thank you. Give me 2 other issues that you think that the City Council could do a little bit better work on.
Well, transportation is one. I think the city's done a lot of good work, but it's been a long slog with the the Broadway grade separation project. This was started 20 years ago, long before I even was in Burlingame. And there's a new roadblock that's come to that, and the cost looks like it's much more for the project as designed currently. So the city's going to have to go back and work with Caltrain and figure out, how we can bring that cost down and also secure the final piece of federal funding in order to move forward. But that is the most dangerous rail crossing in all of the state, and so it really is a priority that we need to keep focus on.
Representing District 2, you're kind of immersed, or you're in the center of the whatever as far as Caltrans goes with El Camino, right? The revitalization of El Camino. How do you feel about that coming on?
I'm looking forward to that revitalization. I mean, I walk all the time down El Camino, sometimes coming from my home all the way down to Burlingame Avenue, and it's more like hiking than walking, right? It's not ADA compliant. We see that there's a lot of flooding when we have rains. And there's a lot of potholes, and it's just an unsafe experience for everyone. So I am looking forward to it, but it's going to be very disruptive to our community. And door knocking, I've found that many people are unaware that this project is going to happen. So we do have a lot of work in outreach to the community to make sure that they're aware that there are going to be detours. But in the end, this is going to be a safer street for everyone to be able to enjoy Burlingame.
Any idea where we are in the start of that project?
So my understanding is the start is supposed to be spring of next year.
Okay, great. All right. Last week on my podcast, I had the vice president of the School Board of Trustees, the Burlingame School Board of Trustees, Dan DeVoy. And when we were done with our podcast, we talked a little bit about a commingling of the city council and the school board. What could each one of them do for each other? And anyway, do you have any thoughts on that? The school board and the city council working more closely together?
So I think they're doing a pretty good job right now. There's what's called a 2x2 committee, where 2 members of our city council and 2 members of the school board get together regularly to discuss issues. As you can imagine, with new housing coming to the city, it's something that has to be discussed closely between the school district as well as the city to make sure that, if we need another school, or perhaps we won't. We don't know what the demographic of our new residents will be. And the city also works very closely with the school district in providing after-school programming at the schools, but that's provided by the Parks and Rec Department. And I think they're doing a very good job working together. But I think anything that can be done in order to bring those entities even closer together, make sure that they're working in sync, will benefit everyone in the community.
The people that are on the city council and are working with the school board, are they the same 2 people all the time, or does that rotate around at all? Do you know?
I believe it rotates. So typically every year for each of the various committees and commissions, it's decided, at least on the city council side, who will be serving on those. So sometimes, people want to have that knowledge and stay in that position for 2-3 years. But that is something that my understanding is it comes up every year.
Great. Okay, good. So you've been living in Burlingame 9 years?
Yes,
Yeah.
9 years.
Obviously, you're experiencing the growth that's going on around here. You've seen all the growth, and it's going to continue to do so with the growth of Silicon Valley, right? I mean, things are happening. So just wondering, what is your vision for managing future development while maintaining the intimate closeness and character of the city?
So I think, first of all, we've done a good job in designing the general plan to put more dense housing in areas, outside of our single-family neighborhoods. So that's a way that we can preserve the beauty of those neighborhoods, the close-knit nature of them. But at the same time, we focus on areas where it's either infill, close to downtown Broadway or downtown Burlingame Avenue, as well as up by North Rollins by the BART and Caltrain station. That area has been rezoned for mixed use. So I think that's one piece that's really important. That's an area that we can actually make into a new beautiful neighborhood, and also that it's an area that's close to transit. And so with so many more people coming into Burlingame and just the Bay Area in general, we really do need to put a focus more on public transportation, on biking and walking, in order to make sure that we alleviate some of the traffic concerns.
Okay, great. I read in the San Mateo Daily Journal a couple of days ago that the city of San Mateo is going to be facing some budget cuts, deficits, etc. How would you prioritize spending if budget cuts became necessary here in Burlingame?
I think the city council actually did a really good job when we went through COVID, as an example, where we saw a large decrease in our transit occupancy tax. That's our hotel tax. And they really had to make some tough decisions to make sure that they didn't lay anyone off in the city, that they were still able to provide services, whether that's in the libraries or the parks. And I think we would need to do something similar if again, our revenues were decreased for some reason. The good news is that we're on an upswing. The transit occupancy tax is up. We have new development out on the Bayfront. So we have, the Oculus campus. We have some biotech and office space that's coming that will bring in property taxes as well. And we have Topgolf. And so we're doing a good job in trying to be more diverse in the types of revenue that we bring into the city.
Terrific. Okay. Let's say you're elected in November. You get the position on city council, okay? I think there's some outside volunteer work that you guys typically do on different committees or commissions, et cetera. In doing so and being on the council and working, et cetera, how do you plan to stay engaged with the community?
I really enjoy reaching out and touching base with people. So one of my plans is to regularly have constituency coffees. I've already kind of started that as just part of my campaign, where I will be at, Plucky's or La Croissant on Broadway for an hour or two in the mornings. I've been doing that on Fridays. I'll also continue to door knock. I know it's not something that a lot of people do outside of campaigns, but I learned this from one of the county supervisors that, sometimes when he just feels like he needs to connect, he'll go door knock. And the other thing I've been doing as I've been door knocking is really taking notes, like someone who's very interested in transportation or someone who's worried about climate change. I'm taking notes on those, so those are people I can go back to and tap them for more information or for more concerns that they may have.
Great. Okay. I think I have time for one more.
Sure.
Obviously, Desiree, Burlingame means a lot to you. Or you wouldn't be running for city council, all right? And I'm just wondering, if you don't get elected, have you thought about ways that you might still stay involved with the city?
Yeah, if I don't get elected, I will continue with my volunteer work at Peninsula Clean Energy on their Community Advisory Committee. I'll continue with the Youth Climate Ambassadors Leadership Program. We're actually starting the 6th year next week. We're bringing in 56 new students.
Terrific.
We have 250 graduates. So those are things that I'll continue in the community. And, I'll also consider to be on a commission either at the city level or in the county level.
Great. Good. Desiree Thayer, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you, Mark. It's been a pleasure.
I'd like to thank Desiree Thayer for being my guest today on Burlingame. It's a small town podcast sponsored by the Burlingame Historical Society. Thanks to the great Ray Tyler for video, original music by Bray. You can hear more at braymusic.com. This podcast was recorded on Tuesday, September 24th at the Burlingame Public Library. The Burlingame Historical Society copyrights this program, and no part can be copied or replayed without the written consent of the Burlingame Historical Society. So until next time, everyone, see you around Burlingame. It's a small town.